A winter solstice surprise. On a quiet winter evening, the snow lay thick upon the ground like a soft, white blanket draped over the sleepy town of Eldergrove. The moon cast a silvery glow through the frosted windowpanes of a quaint cottage, illuminating the cozy living room filled with the scent of pine and cinnamon. Inside, Zoe was curled up on the plush sofa, her cheeks flushed and her auburn curls tangled around her like a halo. A vibrant patchwork quilt was spread across her legs, keeping her warm as she drifted in and out of slumber. The gentle crackle of the fireplace provided a soothing soundtrack, but a sudden noise, a soft thud against the glass, stirred her from her reverie. She blinked awake, rubbing her tired green eyes and letting out a small yawn. Hazy thoughts swirled as she instinctively reached for her partner, but instead of the familiar warmth of her beloved, she found only a cool empty space beside her. "Clara?" Zoe's voice was laden with sleep as she called out into the dimly lit room. Receiving no answer, she rose from the couch, clutching the quilt around her shoulders like a cape and feeling a twinge of worry. Clara had a knack for wandering off into the woods, especially when she was searching for inspiration or embracing the magic of the winter night. With a flick of her wrist, Zoe lit a candle and headed toward the back door, hoping that Clara hadn't gone far. As she stepped outside, the fresh, crisp air greeted her, sweeping over her with a frosty embrace. Snowflakes danced in the air around her, sparkling like tiny diamonds, but the sight that greeted her made her heart race. In the center of their small backyard stood a grand fir, magnificently adorned with shimmering lights, handmade ornaments, and delicate strings of cranberries. Each ornament told a story, some were simple wooden carvings, while others were lively depictions of their shared memories, even a small heart crafted from clay that Zoe had made on their first anniversary. The sight was breathtaking. "Clara!" Zoe called, her voice a mix of surprise and joy. She marveled at the tree but soon noticed a figure crouched next to it, a shovel in hand, carefully arranging the base. Clara's dark hair danced around her as she worked, her fingers deftly placing the final touches on the scene. Turning at the sound of Zoe's voice, Clara broke into a radiant smile, her blue eyes sparkling against the backdrop of twinkling lights. "I was just about to finish up," she said, her cheeks rosy from the cold and excitement. Zoe approached, bewildered by the beauty before her. "You did all of this? It's incredible." She wrapped her arms around Clara, breathing in the sweet scent of birch and moss that lingered around her. "But you didn't have to do it alone. I would have happily helped." "I know," Clara replied, shaking her head playfully as she leaned into Zoe's embrace. "But I wanted it to be a surprise. I wanted our first winter solstice together to be special." As Zoe gazed at the tree, her heart swelled with admiration for the effort Clara had put into this surprise. "You've outdone yourself," she said, pulling back to meet Clara's gaze. "This is perfect." Clara blushed, her hand brushing against Zoe's cheek. "Just like you," she murmured softly. "Now let's make some memories, shall we?" Zoe's breath caught in her throat at Clara's affectionate tone. She nodded eagerly, feeling warmth spread through her. "Let's decorate it together, it wouldn't be right without you by my side." The two spent the evening adorning the tree with more ornaments, laughter echoing through the air as they shared stories and playful touches that danced between them like the flickering lights. Finally, as the last ornament was placed, Zoe stepped back and admired their work. "Ready?" Clara asked, her excitement palpable. Zoe nodded, her heart racing. Together they counted down, and with a shared breath, they flipped the switch, illuminating the tree in a radiant glow. The backyard was aglow with colors, the tree now alive with light, casting a warm hue over the snow and their smiles. Zoe looked at Clara, her heart swelling with love and gratitude. "Thank you for this. It truly is a magical night," Zoe said, stepping closer. Clara wrapped her arms around Zoe's waist, pulling her into a sweet kiss that melted away the cold night. "I couldn't have done it without you," she whispered against Zoe's lips. "You inspire me every day." In that moment, under the twinkling sky and the glittering tree, surrounded by the hush of winter, Zoe knew that this evening was a promise of many joyful solstices to come, with Clara by her side. The air was filled with a crisp sweetness as Zoe and Clara stepped back to take in the wonder of their decorated tree, its glow shining like a beacon amidst the stillness of the winter night. The laughter from earlier hung like a warm blanket around them, softening the edges of the cold world outside. "Let's have some hot cocoa to celebrate," Zoe suggested, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. She immediately turned to head back inside the cottage, still clutching Clara's hand, wishing to keep the warmth of their connection alive. Clara nodded, following closely behind, her heart fluttering. "I'll make it extra special," she promised, already envisioning a swirl of marshmallows and whipped cream on top. "How about we add a little cinnamon, too?" As Zoe stepped inside, the comforting sense of the cottage wrapped around her like an embrace. She loved the way the fire crackled in the fireplace, casting soft shadows and enhancing the cozy atmosphere. She kicked her boots off by the door, her cheeks still flushed with the chill of the night, and made her way to the kitchenette. Clara, ever the multitasker, joined Zoe while humming softly, her hands skillfully measuring out the ingredients for their cocoa. "You know," Clara said, glancing over her shoulder, "it's moments like these that I cherish the most. The tree, the hot cocoa, and just being with you." Zoe turned to her, leaning against the counter, a playful smile on her lips. "It's hard to believe we've only been together for a year. It feels like a lifetime of these moments, and that's not a complaint." "Agreed," Clara replied, her smile infectious. "Each day, you make my heart feel fuller." She paused, the mood shifting slightly as she looked down, her fingers dancing nervously with the sleeve of her sweater. "I just want a lifetime of moments like this." Zoe's heart warmed at Clara's vulnerable admission. She stepped closer, wrapping her hands around Clara's waist, drawing her in. "Hey," she said gently, lifting Clara's chin with a finger so that their gazes locked. "I want that too. More than anything." Clara smiled brightly, the tension easing as her confidence returned. "So let's make that a promise, okay? We can celebrate each winter solstice together, year after year." "Deal," Zoe replied, sealing their promise with a sweet, lingering kiss. The world around them faded as their lips met, a connection that deepened with each heartbeat. But the sound of a bubbling pot brought them both back to reality. Clara laughed, pulling away and quickly stirring the cocoa to prevent it from boiling over. Zoe couldn't help but chuckle at their unceremonious return to routine, after such a magical moment. A few minutes later, they held steaming mugs of cocoa in their hands, topped with dollops of whipped cream and generous sprinkles of cinnamon. Zoe led the way back outside, the air tinged with sweetness and warmth from their drinks, as they settled on a cozy blanket spread over a pair of lounge chairs. They sat snugly together under the quilt, sipping their cocoa while gazing up at the stars twinkling like tiny lanterns in the vast winter sky. The silence was punctuated only by the occasional rustle of the breeze through the trees, and the crackling of the wood in the fireplace. Zoe turned her gaze from the sky to Clara, who was gazing dreamily at the tree. "What are you thinking about?" she asked softly. "Just how perfect this is," Clara replied. "It feels like a dream. The kind of winter night you read about in stories. You know." "Definitely," Zoe said, leaning closer. "But the best part? It's real, and we're living it." Clara laughed lightly, her breath billowing into the cold air. "You're right. And I love how we created this together. I mean, just look at it." She gestured grandly at the illuminated tree, sparkling like a treasure amidst the night. "Here's to creating more moments together," Zoe lifted her mug, clinking it gently against Clara's. "And to many more winter solstices to come." "To us," Clara grinned, her eyes shimmering in the glow from the tree. They took a sip together, the warmth from the cocoa infusing their hearts and souls as well. Minutes turned into hours as they continued to sip their drinks, tell stories and share dreams under the starry sky. As loyalty and love wrapped around them, a sense of peace settled over the two women, solidifying their bond on this magical winter night. Eventually, Clara nestled closer to Zoe, resting her head on her partner's shoulder. "I can't help but think of all the adventures we'll have in the future," Clara mused. "Where else will we explore? What will our lives look like?" "Everywhere we go, I want you by my side," Zoe replied, her voice steady and sincere. "Whether it's chasing sunsets, hiking mountains, or even just cozying up like this on a winter night, I want to experience it all with you. We'll build a life filled with love and laughter, I promise." Clara raised her head, her eyes shimmering with tears of happiness. "I promise too," she said, her voice soft, "to always support you, challenge you, and love you through everything." With hearts intertwined and dreams soaring, Zoe and Clara knew this winter solstice was just the beginning of a beautiful journey, each moment together a testament to the love they held, promising a future filled with warmth, adventure, and endless joy. As the night deepened, the stars twinkled with a brilliance that mirrored the warmth blooming in Zoe's heart. Time felt both expansive and fleeting as they settled into the rhythm of one another's presence, a gentle solace filling the air around them. Suddenly, a flurry of snowflakes began to swirl in the wind, landing softly on their noses and lashes. Clara squealed in delight, pushing back her tousled hair and standing up. "Let's catch snowflakes." Her eyes sparkled with childlike joy, igniting Zoe's own sense of wonder. Zoe chuckled, rising from her chair too. "All right, but let's at least put our mugs down first." They set their drinks on the table by the door, and with that, they burst out into the snow-covered yard, arms outstretched to the night sky, laughter trailing behind them like the glow emanating from the tree. The two women danced around the yard, twirling and leaping, trying to catch the delicate flakes on their outstretched tongues. Clara, always the more adventurous one, spun Zoe around and knocked her gently into a pile of soft, glistening snow. Zoe gasped as the cold enveloped her, but then erupted into laughter, pulling Clara down with her. "Okay, you win," Clara declared, pushing herself up on her elbows to look down at Zoe, whose hair was now adorned with a light dusting of snow. "But you'll pay for that," she teased, scooping up a handful of snow and crafting it into a makeshift snowball. With a playful gleam in her eye, Zoe rolled away just in time, leaping to her feet and preparing for battle. "No mercy," she shouted, a wide grin lighting her face as she formed her own snowy projectile. They spent the next few minutes in a delightful skirmish, flinging snowballs at each other, giggling uncontrollably as the cold air filled with joyous shouts. Eventually, they both tumbled into the snow again, panting and breathless, leaning against each other, their sides pressed together. "Okay, I think I'm done fighting," Zoe said, chuckling as she looked at Clara, who had snowflakes tangled in her hair and ice crystals shimmering on her cheeks. "Besides, we should enjoy the beauty instead of trying to destroy it." Clara smiled softly, brushing a stray snowflake from Zoe's forehead. "I love how you see things. Always finding the beauty." With a playful nudge, Zoe tilted her head back, gazing up at the magnificent fir, aglow with lights. "Let's sit by the tree and just enjoy the moment," she suggested softly. They trudged gingerly over to their blanket and settled beneath the tree, cocooned in its glow. The sensation of stillness enveloped them like the luminous warmth radiating from the holiday decorations. "It's so beautiful, isn't it?" Clara whispered, looking up at the tree, the candles flickering gently in the night's embrace. "It really is," Zoe agreed, but her gaze soon shifted to Clara, who seemed to shine just as brightly. "And you are too," she added, her voice softer now, filled with sincerity. Clara's cheeks flushed at the compliment and she turned to meet Zoe's gaze. "You always know what to say to make my heart flutter," she replied, her voice a blend of shyness and admiration. Zoe took Clara's hands in hers, intertwining their fingers. "This year and every year to come, I want to celebrate the solstice with you. No elaborate plans, just us. Simple moments filled with joy, laughter, and love." "I want that too," Clara said, her eyes glistening. "Every holiday, every moment, celebrating each part of life together." Just then, a soft sound emerged from the trees, a faint whisper of wind, but to Zoe and Clara, it felt like a shared promise. The moment felt sacred, and they knew they were forging a bond deeper than any celebration could symbolize. In that enchanted winter night, amidst laughter, joy, and shared dreams, Zoe leaned in closer, planting a tender kiss on Clara's lips, a promise sealed in the warmth of love and the sparkle of 1,000 winter stars. As they parted slightly, Clara grinned. "What do you say we make a little tradition out of this, the cocoa, the tree, the laughter? And maybe," Clara's voice dipped playfully, an annual snowball fight. Zoe laughed, nodding enthusiastically. Absolutely. And maybe next year, we can invite friends to join us. Make it a big celebration. Yes. Clara exclaimed, her excitement palpable. Let's spread the joy. As the two women sat beneath their twinkling tree, creating their plans and dreams against the backdrop of a silvery winter sky, they felt an indescribable warmth fill their hearts, one grounded in love, laughter, and a commitment to each other that no amount of snow could ever cover. With hands clasped and hearts entwined, they knew this was a night to remember, a moment forever etched in time, a winter solstice strengthened by love, and a future filled with endless possibilities. And as the stars continued to twinkle above, the world around them disappeared, leaving only the two of them, united, embracing every bit of the magic that the night held.